For the past 2 months, I have exclusively been using this headset right here. This is the Corsair HS80 Max. This definitely isn't the first gaming headset I've ever used, but it is the most premium. The quality of this is unlike anything I have experienced before. Now, aside from gaming, which is the main reason I got this headset, I found that I've actually been using these for literally any other task. Video editing, listening to music, watching movies, all because of some awesome features that are in this headset that I have not experienced anywhere else. So, no faffing around, let's talk about what makes this thing so incredible and so unique to the point where I have stopped using literally every other headset that I own. Okay, let's start with a burning question. This headset costs between 160 to 180 pounds depending on where you are in the world. Does it sound like it's worth that amount of money? Well, for gaming, absolutely, because back in my early 20s, you guys may not know this, but I used to be a semi-pro Call of Duty player. Audio was something that folks like us heavily relied on because we need to be able to hear the footsteps and people running up to us. We need to be able to hear somebody coughing in the gas if you're playing something like Warzone. And I can confidently say that if I had this headset back in the day, it would have been absolutely perfect for competitive use. It's got 7.1 surround sound, so you can hear things from every single direction. And the audio itself is powered by these incredible 50mm high-density neodymium drivers. And I had no idea what that meant beforehand, but you do a little bit of research and you realize how big of a deal that actually is. All I knew was that when I put them on, they sounded awesome. They sounded crisp and clear. There's quite a bit of bass, but it's not an overwhelming amount. I genuinely felt like these made me a better player. Like it didn't seem like a placebo or anything like that. I was just so aware of everything in my surroundings. And this is definitely the first time I've felt that with a headset, which I assume is the goal here. But I'm getting older now and competitive play isn't really my scene anymore. I much prefer the cinematics, the storytelling, the cutscenes in God of War Ragnarok, which are absolutely mind-blowing, with the ambiance of exploring Night City, cyberpunk. And honestly, it's never sounded better. Not only because the headset is good and the audio is great and whatever, but these things also have a Dolby Atmos spatial audio. So it feels like more now than ever when I do wear these and I play some games and I get a chance just to experience a new city or a new world, a new environment. I feel so much more immersed in it. And this sounds like a terrible sales pitch, but really when you can hear every single bird chirping and you know that that one's coming from up there on that rooftop, you can hear the cars passing by and the audio fade as they drive off. That's not something that I have experienced before. Maybe this is familiar to you, but being able to hear all of that in like 3D local real time, it's incredible. Even watching movies and listening to 8D audio, which is trippy as hell the first couple of times you do it, but again, doing that with the whole surround sound experience, the Dolby Atmos, crazy. Absolutely bonkers. Here's the catch though, right? So straight out of the box, these come with a little dongle that you can either plug straight into your console, your PlayStation, your Xbox, or you can plug it into your PC. And straight out of the box, these are pretty damn good. But it's when you plug it into the PC that these things really come alive. So straight out of the gate, you have a bunch of really cool sound profiles that you can click on and it will change how the audio sounds. And it's not like little micro adjustments that may add a little bit more bass. Like each one of these profiles makes the headset feel completely different. So this is my preset because I like quite loud sounds and everything in my ear. I like it quite bassy. So you can see how all of these change based on my preference. And we'll get into all that in a minute. But then you click on something like the FPS competition mode and again, all of the curves change. Let me move my camera up here so you can actually see everything properly. And you can also see like you've got the clear chat. So again, all of your vocals are going to be coming through a lot better. Bass boost, movie theater, like these are really incredible presets. And again, it's so hard to be able to describe these because I don't think you can actually grasp how different each EQ setting sounds, but it feels like every single one has been fine-tuned for their specific purpose. It isn't just like a gimmick they've thrown in. It genuinely makes a big difference. Then you come down here and this is an option called SoundID. And this is, again, unlike anything that I have experienced before, but you can actually create the best sound profile based on your ears and the way that you hear sounds. It takes about 4 to 5 minutes. Now, I've already done all of this before, but basically what's going to happen is it's going to go through and it'll set automatic volume and it'll start playing random little sounds to you. And then you have to determine which sounds better, which is higher pitched, which is lower, etc. Can you hear that? Not only is it going to tailor the headset specifically to how you hear audio, but it will also tell you if you have any kind of hearing difficulties and things like that, which to me is absolutely crazy. And again, I went through and I did all of this and then I kind of tweaked the bass and stuff like that a little bit just for my own taste, my own preference. But the fact that you have all this control in here is crazy. Now, this is one of my very few gripes with the headset, I would say, and there aren't many of them, but this is definitely a prominent one. See, naturally you get all this stuff on the PC, and it really does enhance the headset to the point where, like, if you then plug it back into the PlayStation or the Xbox and you don't have access to the iCUE software, it's a noticeable difference. I think what would be really cool is if you can actually save a sound profile or some EQ settings to the headset and then just pass it over. Next time you plug the dongle into the PlayStation, it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, we're going to retain these settings. We're going to remember what sounds the best for you. And it is worth noting, by the way, I haven't mentioned it so far in this video, but these do support Bluetooth. You can switch between the 2.4 gigahertz dongle and the Bluetooth audio just by tapping a button. It's so simple. You can't simultaneously listen to dongle audio and then Bluetooth at the same time, but you can simultaneously connect two devices. So let's say I'm playing a game on my PC and all of a sudden I get a phone call through the Bluetooth on the headset. I will receive that phone call and I will be able to talk naturally, and it will just switch audio sources. But if I want to listen to music on my phone, I would then have to switch everything over and only listen to that one source. I hope I explained that well. Okay, so when I got in touch with Corsair and I said I wanted to try and collaborate on a product and things like that, and I had these in mind originally, they did give me an option to pretty much pick any headset, anything that I wanted to review. But let me show you why I picked these in particular. It's the audio quality, and this for me is remarkable. If I go ahead and move this, you can tell that all the audio is coming from here. We did come from a proper mic which has a bunch of EQ settings and things like that. This is just raw, straight out of the headset. So here's my thought process with this, right? I don't always want to be tethered to my desk when I'm streaming, whether I'm going out and doing IRL stuff, I'm in the kitchen, or I just want to be a little bit further away. I want to be chilling on the sofa while I'm playing games rather than over here. I want a way to be able to stand 10 feet away from the microphone and still be able to record audio. 20 feet, and you still wouldn't even be able to tell. Like, this thing is, this is so cool. I've now got to fix my whole setup just for that one shot. But you get the point. The audio straight from this headset is pretty damn good. And I don't often play with friends, but whenever I have done it using this headset over the last couple of months that I've had it, I have received countless compliments about how clear the audio comes across. That isn't like a big deal for me. This is more for live streaming, content creation, but you get the idea. It gives me like a little ego boost every time I jump on and play Fortnite, which is nice. Now, when we take things over to the PC, again, you're going to find a bunch of really cool options that help elevate the level of this mic. You've got your standard volume adjustments and things like that down here, which is pretty nice. And then the pro tip, if you actually tap the little gear icon, you have a mic boost. So we could turn this all the way up an extra 8% if you wanted to. There's even like a couple of options here for like turning on and off voice prompts, automatically shutting things off. We're not going to dive into all of that today, but that's there if you need it. And then this right here, this is the coolest part. We have access to the NVIDIA broadcast tech, which for those of you who don't know, you can normally get this kind of stuff in OBS, right? And you can add filters and EQ settings, and they're pretty damn cool. So you got things like noise removal. So this is me talking naturally without the noise removal turned on. Now, if we turn it on, you should be able to hear a bit of a difference, but we need some noise. So I've got my friend, the Hoover. So you should be able to hear the Hoover in the background, a lot of noise. I don't even know if you're going to be able to pick up what I'm saying right now. And then this audio right now is with the noise removal turned on. The Hoover is still in the exact same place, right next to my face. Hopefully it makes a difference, you know, fingers crossed. I wonder if it works to remove noises of my kids screaming and playing in the background. That'd be pretty cool. There's also a little option for room echo removal. Now, this room right here is pretty sound treated, so I don't normally have to worry about it too much, but let's turn it on and see if there's much of a difference. I don't think there is going to be, but it's nice to have that option here. And then finally, here is a recording with both settings turned on. And bear in mind, you can change the intensity of all of this. So if we turn the noise removal all the way up to 100%, the issue that we may run into during this little recording bit here is that it may cut off the audio a little bit too sharp. It may make it feel a little bit too filtered. Now, again, this was one of the main draws for me, just being able to have this little guy ready to go. I can just go wherever I want, have a decent audio without worrying about like lav mics, setting up a boom mic for a shot or something. Just having this is a huge deal for me personally. Okay, so the input audio and the output audio is really good. We've established that. Now, again, with the mic, just remember that comparing this to this, two completely different ball games, right? I don't think you'd be able to get better quality in this kind of form factor at this price range. So let's talk about a couple of other things that come with this that make it stand out, that make it so much better. First of all, you have the RGBs, and It serves no purpose whatsoever. It's just a little glowing logo, but it's a cool little gimmick. And just seeing like a little flashing logo in the middle of a stream or something like that, it kind of adds like a little bit of pizzazz. I don't know, I'm a child, but next up, there's actually a customizable button. And again, speaking of versatility, this thing is remarkable. So the actual button itself is the scroll wheel, but you can kind of push it in. But not only can you assign some very basic functions like being able to mute the microphone, which I don't see why you would, because I mean, you can just... But then you have other options like being able to change your EQ settings directly with the tap of a button. So 1 minute you're listening to some music and cutscenes, tap the button, and then all of a sudden your FPS competitive mode kicks in and you can hear all your footsteps. That's pretty nice to have. But the main function that I use, honestly, is being able to set macros and hotkeys. And the reason for that is because I love making things like YouTube Shorts and TikToks and things like that. So if you assign that hotkey, if it's like a star button or Control S or something inside of OBS, you can then just tap the button on your headset and it'll capture like a replay recording, it'll start streaming, things like that. And that's so useful, right? If I'm just chilling and playing some games on the PlayStation and I got the PlayStation wired up to OBS, I can literally capture shorts and footage and things like that directly by just tapping a button on my headset. Have you any idea how crazy that is? And one final thing that is probably the dumbest thing in the world for most people, but it's the voice prompts, the audio stuff, right? In every single headset I have ever owned, except for this one, you know the little voice that speaks to you and it says, microphone on, audio recording, things like that? It sounds so generic and it's so dull and horrible. Listen to this. How gorgeous is this voice?
Mic on.
It's like sweet, sultry whispers inside of my ear holes.
Mic off. Mic on. Mic off. Mic on. Mic off. Mic on. Mic off.
I want a voice in a headset. Can you imagine just hearing me speaking into your ear hole one day? And actually, as a forenote, I have seen a couple of people talk about the weight and the design of this, saying it's uncomfortable. I don't know what you guys are on, but these foam pads right here are lovely. They can get a little bit warm, but it's not like, oh my God, my ears are on fire. It's like, oh, a little fairy is just holding my ear while we play some games together. And from what I can see, like after using these for 2 months, there is no wear and tear. There's no signs of like any glue coming off or anything like that I've found in other headsets. Like these look, besides the dust and the little hair particles, they look and feel as great as the day I got them. As for the weight of the headset itself, it is a little bit heavy, but it's not, to me at least, it's not uncomfortable. I've sat and I've used this thing for 6 to 12 hours straight on regular occasions, editing, recording videos, streaming, etc. And there's never been a point I'm like, take this thing off me, it's embedding itself in my skull. It's more like, oh yeah, I've got a lump of aluminum on my head. It doesn't matter how finely crafted and beautiful the form factor is, there is still a big boy on top of your head, and that does get noticeable after a long period of time, but it's not uncomfortable. It is perfectly manageable. I personally do not recognize any of the complaints when it comes to comfortability with this thing, but I suppose each to their own. I do have the whole alien thing going on. I've got a massive head, so could just be me, but I don't see that as a big deal. Okay, so there we have it, a nearly perfect headset with very few minor gripes. And there is one final little issue that I want to talk about, and it's not a big deal to pretty much everybody. It applies more to content creators, streamers, things like that, because it's just an issue that I ran across. I found a solution for it. I figured I might as well share it in this video. If you're not a gaming creator, a live streamer, that kind of thing, jump out the video here. There are links to everything down in the description below. Take a look through some of the stuff on the site. They explain the audio and the tech side of things way better than I could. I just don't have that knowledge. It is a big investment, particularly when that money could go into things like a Stream Deck. It's like half the money of a Nintendo Switch. But again, you're here for a reason. You're considering buying something like this, something premium, and I think you're definitely going to get your money's worth. So for my live streaming and content creation buddies, here is the issue that I have with this thing, right? When you plug this headset or any headset in general into the PlayStation, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I think this is just a PlayStation thing. Again, no hate to Corsair, this is not their fault, it's just an issue I found, I want to resolve it. When you plug it into the PlayStation, your output audio is disabled, which means that if you're running everything through OBS, your chat, your recordings, none of it is going to have PlayStation audio while the headset is connected to the PlayStation. This is normally avoided by using a USB-C cable or a 3.5 3.5mm jack, and that goes straight into your PlayStation, and you can just listen to the audio that way, plus your chat can hear everything. And that's one gripe with the headset that I think is very particular to us as creators. Not having access to that 3.5mm jack or even audio through USB-C is an oversight. Not a big deal to most people, but can cause issues. So here is the workaround that I have come up with. You're going to want to grab yourself one of the latest capture cards from Elgato or a similar company. I personally recommend the 4KX, which Elgato were actually kind enough to send me this as well. I'll have a review on this at some point in the near future. What you're going to do, you're going to run all of your PlayStation audio through HDMI into OBS like you normally would. The issue here is that obviously you can't really hear anything. Inside of OBS, if you go to Audio Mixer, you can actually then select the 4KX, go to Advanced Audio Properties, and then select a monitor and output. What's going to happen is because you're using a modern card, these things have around about 30 milliseconds of delay between what happens on screen and what you're able to perceive through OBS or pass through. You may hear an ever so slight delay, but honestly it's not even noticeable. Back in the day, I used to use a HD60 and it had a 650 millisecond delay, so you would have to wait over half a second to be able to hear a footstep or to be able to hear a bullet that you just fired, and it was so off-putting. It just seems like a really simple all-in-one solution, but the fact that this doesn't have a 3.5mm jack or even audio through USB-C, again, huge oversight, not a big deal to most people, but that is a solution for you. Another solution, depending on how much money you want to spend, is Corsair actually have an even higher end headset called the Virtuoso, and the Virtuoso XT actually has all of the features that we've spoken about today, but also works through USB-C and a 3.5mm jack. Now, from what I can tell, the Virtuoso is tailored more towards creativity than gaming per se. I'd love to do a comparison at some point in the future, so Corsair, if you're watching this, feel free to hook your boy up. If you're selling something that's even more expensive than this, I assume it's got to be better. In the meantime, I hope this video has helped you make a decision on the HS80 Max. Great headset. Once again, Corsair, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be able to play around with some of the products, review them, give my honest thoughts and opinions, and I definitely hope that we can play around with some more stuff in the future. I love your faces. You're amazing and beautiful, and I will catch you in the next one.